Welcome, Angie, to the Losses Become Gains podcast. I am so glad you're here today and to just hear more about your story and your journey with grief and everything you have discovered and created from it. So I'm just super grateful to have you here today and to share all of this with the world too.
Well, I'm thankful that I'm here and I appreciate you having me on here so we can definitely share our grief stories and everything that goes along with it.
Get deep into it. Yep.
Yes.
I'm all about that here.
Yes.
Yes. So just to kick this off, I would love for you to just tell everyone a little bit about who you are and just any fun facts too outside of your losses. Cause I always say we're so much more than our grief too, right? So
Yes.
anything you want to share.
Yeah. So my name's Angie and I'm 51 years old and I live in Nebraska. And so I'm in the center of the United States here. But basically, I have a daughter that's 21 that goes to school in Alabama. And I basically work from home. I just started a card business called Butterflies and Halos. So I sell on Etsy currently. So I do that. And then, I like to golf a lot. So that's kind of the fun thing that we do. My husband and I, is we golf and, we have all our family here too. So we spend a lot of time with our family and then we have our little fur baby, Emmy, that we take care of. So
Yeah. Okay. I have
yeah.
to ask what kind dog, cat, what kind? We
Emmy's
love
a little
animals.
mini golden doodle.
That's like, okay. Other
Yeah.
than my dog who passed away, that is like one of my
Yeah.
dream dogs.
Yeah,
So
she's so smart and she's good. So she loves to hang around with us everywhere. So she likes it when I'm home and she can follow me everywhere.
your little shadow.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what I spend a lot of my time on.
Yeah. Well, I definitely want to get to the cards for sure, but I'm sure because so many of us here go through some journey of loss or hardship, and that often provokes a lot of the things that we create and all the good stuff. So, whatever you're comfortable sharing, I would love for you to just talk a little bit about your journey of loss and grief, what that has been like for you, all
Yeah.
the things.
Yeah, well, I've had quite a bit of loss in my life. So my son Garrett, he died in 2006 and he was 1. And so it's been 17 years this past June. So his birthday was actually June 21st and we had just celebrated his 1-year birthday and then he passed away June 27th, 2006. So just 6 days shy of us after his first birthday. And he died. He had just a rare heart defect that we were unaware of. And so he died in his sleep. And so that was, my not my first experience with loss, but the most traumatic. I had experienced losses prior, grandparents, some friends, classmates, things like that. But this one was obviously the most traumatic for our family. And at the time, my daughter was 4. And so we really just focused on trying to survive and to just take care of her and help her and guide her, all the while just trying to, like I said, survive our own grief, my husband and I at the time. So then fast forward a year later, about a year and a half later, actually, in October of 2007, my husband, Jack, at the time, he was diagnosed with cancer. He was diagnosed with ocular melanoma. So he had a very large tumor in his brain. And, we knew at the time that he would have a fight for his life. He was diagnosed terminally because it had spread to his brain and his liver and his spleen. So that was kind of the end of October, beginning of November, and so that kind of just really took us into a huge tailspin of trying to figure out again, navigating the cancer journey, along with grieving for our son still and trying to protect our daughter from all this, devastation that we were experiencing. And so, we just, with the help of our family and friends and our community, we just really rallied behind Jack. He had a very positive attitude the entire time. But Jack, he battled for 16 months. So he died in February of 2009. So February 8th, 2009, just 16 months after his diagnosis. And, about 2.5 years after our son had died, Jack lost his battle with the cancer. And, he fought, as hard as he could. And, so at that moment, it was really just, myself and my daughter, Gracie, and I was a young widow at 36. And, I just had a lot of unknowns, going forward. And, within that month period of time after Jack had died, my brother, Seth, he had actually been battling a brain tumor for about 5 years. And so he just started having a lot of symptoms, and his brain tumor came back. And so he had his third brain surgery to remove the tumor on March 13th. So just a month after Jack had died. And then basically he just never really rebounded back from it. And so it was just really difficult, because then Seth, my brother Seth, he ended up losing his battle on April 7th, 2009. So just 2 months after my husband.
That is unreal.
Yeah. And so, at that time, it was really hard to lean on family members a lot, because we were all kind of we were all going through the same thing. We'd all had lost significant people in different forms. And I was just, that was the time period of my life where I became very angry with God, with everything in life. And I just really didn't know how I was going to move forward. And the one thing that was my constant was my daughter, Gracie. At the time, she was 6 when Jack died, and then her birthday falls in March. So she was 7 then when my brother died. But she was, age really is irrelevant with her, but it was just her and I just knew every day I had to get up and I had to focus on her. And I wanted her to have a happy, beautiful life, because she deserved it just as much as any other child out there. And so that was my main focus.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Where to even start right now? Oh my God.
I know, it's a lot.
I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot in like a relatively short period of time, especially with your husband and brother. And then, I mean, there's really no comparing loss, right? But I think a lot of listeners and people out there could agree that losing a child is just a little extra up there,
Yes. Yes.
just
Me losing both or all three of them, a sibling, a husband, and a child. I still do believe, losing Garrett was still the hardest.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, first of all, it's just with children, especially as the mother, right? You grow them and you birth them,
Yes.
all the things, and not to discount the dads out there, but
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's just that really classic, like, you're just not supposed to lose a child. They're just not supposed to go before you. And I talked to my grandmother, my mom's mom, who's still alive, about that. And even though she lost her daughter when she was, my mom was 62,
Yeah.
like it's still, I no matter the age, right? I'm sure. And I
Exactly.
unfortunately can't, well, fortunately, I guess, unfortunately,
Yes.
can't
Right.
relate to that loss. But that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on here. But even those other two losses, I didn't even know about those. And
Yeah.
so, and then I can't even imagine then your partner too. And number one, how you both got through that child loss, because I have heard many instances where that kind of thing can absolutely tear a couple apart.
Oh,
It kind of,
I can see how that can happen. Believe me.
I mean, so there's so many questions I want to ask you,
Yeah.
but if you could just like, one thing I definitely want to hear is like how you two, and this could be high level, but just like how you worked through that, how you were able to be there for each other in just this unspeakably difficult time. I don't know. Any
Yeah.
recommendations you
Y-
have? Anything?
Yeah, for us it was in the beginning, we just knew that for me, and I think it's always that same thing where the man always feels like they have to be the protector. They want to protect their wife. They want to do that. And that's kind of what Jack did. And his focus, he did put his grief on the back burner a little because he felt like he needed to protect Gracie and I. And I honestly believe wholeheartedly, and I've heard you talk about it with your dad and your mom, but I honestly believe that he took on so much of that stress, and that's what ignited the cancer in his body. And I just, because Jack had actually had melanoma at the age of 21. He had like just a spot on his arm that was removed. It hadn't spread anywhere. So, he had the genes and the cancer cells within his body. But I honestly believe that just the stress of losing our son Garrett, and then just trying to hold his family together that year, I just really think it ignited in him. And we just really we really talked about things, and we gave each other permission to do whatever and however we had to grieve. For me, I leaned heavily into journaling and writing, and that was my healing and what I could do. And we honestly just really focused on our daughter and trying to give her the best happy life that we could. And we went to a support group locally, and they were they were helpful. It was hard for us because we were put into a group atmosphere. And this group, most of the people were widows or widowers. And so we were the only people that had lost a child. And so it was a little different. And Jack really didn't get a lot from that. For me, I was just like, I wanted all the information I could get, because I thought that was what would help me.
Hurt, right?
Yeah. But honestly, we really, we gave each other our space, and I do talk about this a lot, but we kind of met each other where we were at in our grief. And so we gave that to each other. And I think that was probably the help that got us through that.
Yeah, that's so healthy. Oh my gosh, you just hit on like so many amazing things that I just like encourage so many grievers to do. Journaling and writing, number
Mhm.
one. I know that's like not always comfortable for some people, but like whether it's prompted or free writing or whatever, definitely that. I think those words are so impactful when they
Mhm.
come out on that paper sitting in
Yes.
front of you. But then also grief support groups for sure, or just, like the fact that you guys even looked into that. Like some people are just, they almost, which sounds funny, but like don't think of it. Or 'cause honestly,
Mhm.
I didn't when
Yeah.
my parents first. I kind of just I went like inward. I just wanted to be alone, and of course, everyone handles grief differently, right? So
Yes.
grief groups might not be for everybody, but like now looking back on it, definitely see the merit in it. And even
Yeah.
if you're not surrounded by sort of your people in a way, as
Yeah.
far as like you guys lost the same thing, there's
Yeah.
I mean, you have such a beautiful mindset on it. Like you're like, I can learn something here.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
either from how other people are dealing with it to just like, there's so many fundamentals of grief that are, I'm not going to say the same across the board, but similar across the board. We might feel
Exactly.
general feelings of kind of the same things, even though it's
Mhm.
different people we've lost. And even if it's like,
Yeah.
technically speaking, the same person, like we've lost a mom or a dad or whatever,
Yeah.
it's to each their own. Each relationship is unique anyway. So
Exactly.
grief is unique to our own. But also the meeting each other where you're at, right? And like kind of it sounds like you guys did a really good job of like, remaining together and leaning on each other, but giving that space
Mhm.
when you needed to and giving yourselves the grace to do that without judgment. And I mean, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kudos to you guys.
Yeah,
That is
and I will
like
say it wasn't, we were not perfect, and we didn't do it the right way every time, but
pride.
we just knew that we had love to give still, and we needed to give that to our daughter. So
That's the other thing I was going to definitely mention and just acknowledge. And again, as a just kudos to you guys is like acknowledging you still have another beautiful child that you have to take care of,
mhm.
and they deserve a big, beautiful life. And,
Yeah.
at the time she was maybe too young to also fully understand what was going on. And
Yes.
so to have the wherewithal to not like mentally check out and just, that happens to a lot of people,
Yeah.
understandably so. And
Exactly.
to really, again, just have the wherewithal to
Yes.
do that and
Yeah.
somehow stay afloat. I don't know how you guys did it, but that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm not sure either sometimes, but
There's definitely those days where sometimes I'm just like, "How on God's green earth am I, like, actually kind of okay
I know.
right
Oh,
now?"
I think that, that's one of the most amazing things I think about journaling is I look back at my writings from the beginning and I sound like a psychotic lady that I'm just
Night and
like, "Oh
day.
my gosh, what?" But it's amazing to me and I I'm proud of myself because by doing that, I see how far I've come and I'm proud that I was able to work through that, in a healthy manner. And I mean, because I know that some people cannot. And for me, though, that was really just really an eye opener when I read back over my journal after the first year. Those first couple journal entries were very dark, and
Probably so.
very scary. And but then I could see the progression, and I was like, and I think it was just as life moves forward, we can see that. And initially we can't see that at all, when any grief that or any loss that we have, we can't see that. We're like, no, no, that's not going to be me. You're a lot stronger than me, and it's just like, it's not true. I think
Right.
we all have the same strengths in our lives. We just have to know how to utilize them and find them,
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, well said.
Yeah.
The other thing I definitely wanted to mention, because I am big on anticipatory grief, it's something I definitely experienced with both of my parents, and it sounds like you did with your sweet husband as well,
Yes.
was that cancer journey in what I have no doubt was some anticipatory grief. Just again, high level, can you just talk about that, what that felt like for you, if you coped with it, how did you cope with it?
Yeah. You know, when we received Jack's cancer diagnosis, and we were told that it was terminal, and they told us they didn't know how long he would have, I did start grieving Jack's death at that time, so I was from the beginning, just knowing that Jack was going to leave us sooner than later. We didn't know when or how long, but
So scary.
so I guess, I just really for me, I just kind of practiced love more. And, because I knew that no matter where we were going to be, we, we get to let go of the loss and all that comes with it, but we always never get rid of the love that we have. So I had to find forgiveness, in I think in God, and I had to find forgiveness in any of my actions. Like if I was angry, I had to make sure I let a lot of that go because that wasn't going to help the situation at all. And really just for me, I knew then that I had to really take care of myself physically better and emotionally better. I had to try to get stronger, however that looked. And I always give myself grace, and this I give people grace. I think we have to give ourselves grace always, in any situation. And when you talk about that anticipatory grief, I mean, that's just basically, I feel like, kind of all summed up into, all that is, we know these things are happening and we know I kind of knew what was going to come because, we had lost our son. So I knew that this was going to be a significant loss.
Right.
And it was up to me at that point to start mentally and emotionally getting better so I could handle, because I knew what it was going to take.
Yeah. And then some.
Yeah, and then some.
Other. It's like
Yes.
I can't imagine some of the moments. I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I
Yeah,
definitely had these moments and maybe you can relate where I was just like, I cannot believe this is actually my life.
I know. Yes.
What
Always.
went wrong? What did I do in a different lifetime to deserve this? All the things.
Oh, yes. I've always said that, like, what have I done? Why, why me? Poor me, and I think that's okay for people to kind of question that and get it, and it's completely okay, I feel like, and we all know that death is part of life. And we know, and we just, is it fair? No. Is when your child is taken from you at such a young age? No. But my biggest thing that I am thankful for now, I guess, is that, my husband is with our son. And, now I'm jealous of him a little bit sometimes. When I get my really big griefy days, I'm jealous of Jack, because he gets to be there and he gets to see Garrett again. But, you know, um, I'll get there one day too.
And say our time will come. Like,
Yep, exactly. Yep, we'll
it's
get
such
there.
a
But then I just got to continue to live solid and, live with grace and hope and faith. And that's what gets me through every day.
That's amazing. I mean, again, speaking of turning, losses into gains, that is like you're the
Yes.
epitome of it. I love it so much. So, speaking of that, you have
Mhm.
created something so beautiful amongst all of your loss. So, I would love for you to just talk about your cards and just like tell everyone how you came to. I mean, you've kind of talked about how you got to the place that you're in now as far as like your healing journey, but like however far back you kind of feel like going with that, just
Yeah.
how you came to create that, what it all looks like.
Yes.
Good things.
Well, I am currently remarried. So my husband Chance now, he has been a guiding light and amazing support system for Gracie and myself. And I knew Chance through family and through friends. So it wasn't like he was just some rando I met, but and I don't know if that'd be harder or better. I don't know.
Yeah.
But um anyways, he's been an amazing supporter for my daughter and myself. And he's stepped into that role, but he hasn't taken over that role of being Gracie's dad and all that. But he's done a phenomenal job. So with talking to Chance a lot, I just really wanted to figure out a way how we could create space, for the griever so they feel less alone, and how do we show up intentionally for our friends? And I know some people are card people, some people aren't, greeting card people, but I just was like, all the cards that we get, or I would see, they say with deepest sympathy, or,
Indulge.
my
Oh
condolences or
God, if I
blah
s
blah blah, great intentions. I understand what they're trying to get
like a
behind that,
safe
but
bet,
it is a safe bet, yes. But I'm just
it's
like,
some
I wouldn't buy that for my girlfriend. If
Mhm.
her husband died, I would not buy her a card that said with deepest sympathy, so I'm like, how can I, show up? And I'm like, so I just started writing down a million things that I felt and like I wanted people to, say to me, or I wanted to hear. And so that's kind of what I kind of just started with that. And so then I started like I'll just show one real quick.
Yeah, please.
I don't know if you can see that. So
Yes.
this one was my first one. I didn't bring the casserole. I brought the wine, PJs, and my listening heart.
I'm obsessed.
So yeah,
That is so
and
my
it's just
vibe.
some of them are kind of funny just because
Have to
and
be
then
a
this was
little
the second one,
lighthearted.
another one, a take on casserole
Mhm.
on this one, and it just says, I don't know what to say. Let's go eat one of those damn casseroles.
All
You
the
know,
gas.
and that's just kind of the funny thing when you get all
Oh,
the,
I love it.
casseroles and,
Yes.
the things.
All the easy
But
foods and just stick in the oven.
yes. But just I have over 130 cards now because there's just like you can tell a story with just a couple lines in the cards. And it's, what would you say to your friend? You can't fix them. You can't fix the grief. And I think that's what we have to try to get away from, is trying to fix it and just acknowledging the grief and let them know that you're there. And some of these cards are not meant for maybe 2 weeks after the death, maybe with your best friend or something. But most of these cards are, I just want to get into sending cards and getting back into that, even months, sending a card every month. I have I have a monthly card subscription option that you can get a monthly card. But how can we show up and acknowledge our friends every month? I mean, if you received a card in the mailbox, just if you were having a crappy day and you opened up your mailbox and you just had this random card and it just said, like this is one of my best sellers. I don't know, it's kind of got my cellophane on it. It just says, take a deep breath and know that whatever you accomplish today will be enough.
Oh, I
I
love
mean, how would that change your whole day?
the
It
whole
would just
dynamic.
change
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
that's kind of where I was like, I just want to get these messages out. Like I said, I just have so many messages that I wish, things that would have been said to me, or things that I want to say to people. And they've been very well received. And just the stories, the pop-up events I do, the stories along the way, and the conversations I have with people. That makes everything I do worthwhile, because about every single pop-up event, I have 1 to 2 people in tears. They read the cards and they just start thinking, and then we share stories. And I mean, that's what it's all about. It's letting people share their stories, and we've got to you just change this narrative around grief and be able to talk about it, say the people's names, and everything. I haven't even showed this one, but I'll show it to you because I'm releasing it. But we have dog cards too, sympathy cards. We have cat cards, sympathy cards, dog sympathy cards. But this was the one I just came out with. It's kind of cute. It just says, "We are positively sad to hear about," and then you can write the
Okay, I hope
dog or cat's name.
everyone needs to go watch this on YouTube as well, because or obviously we're gonna go to your website and we'll link
Yes.
everything. But
Yes.
I mean, that one was so cute with the little kind of rainbow paw prints in the heart,
Yes.
and it's personalizable.
Yes. Yep, exactly.
That's
You
kind
said
of
it
a word.
exactly right. It is.
I'm making it a word today, but
Yeah.
just enough to be just a little more lighthearted with it. It's not
Mhm.
so blanket statement. It's not so ugh, here's another freaking grief card that's just
Exactly. Yeah.
stuffy and just
Yeah.
overdone. And, yeah, some of these might not be for like you said, immediately after, but I think people just want to feel seen. And you do
Yeah, they
that in
do.
such a beautiful way. And
Yeah.
and again, you can clearly, you have so many, you can tailor this so well to the
Yeah.
person. And then you could write a little more on there if you want to.
Yeah.
But,
And the biggest thing is, a lot of people, they are like, I don't know what to say. And I always got questions like that. What should I buy this person that someone died? People would send me messages, or what should I say to them in this card? And I'm just like, this was before I started Butterflies and Halos, but basically, the cards speak itself. So you almost don't even have to come up with what you need to say, but you
yeah,
could just say, I
yeah,
love you. I'm thinking of
I'm
you.
thinking of you. Right. I'm here.
That's all, because all my cards are blank inside. So you
Yeah,
can write more, obviously, but that I'm helping people speak
take
what they
the
need to speak.
Yeah, and just
Yeah.
kinda take the guesswork out of it, because I think that is the hardest part. And I've definitely my husband is one of these people, and I've spoken to a lot of people who really have not experienced either any loss, or at least
Yeah.
not super profound, super deep loss. Maybe they've
Yeah.
lost some acquaintances or something like that, which is no less
Yeah.
tragic, but,
Yeah. Hmm.
but still. And I think it's that much harder for people in that boat to be like, "What the hell do I do? What do I
Yeah.
say?
Yeah.
What can I give?" And so I think sometimes people opt to just do nothing, or they opt for that really sad, tragic, normal card from CVS
Exactly.
or wherever.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, listen, there's a time and a place for those, I guess, but
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, these could be for a colleague or something, just to
Yeah.
show that there's a little more thought put into it, and just
Yes.
a little more creativity
Yeah.
and
And a
all.
lot of my cards, they don't have to be death related. This can be a loss of any sort. Like you said just now, a job, like it could be a job loss. It could be, it could be just a friendship loss. Like maybe somebody or that's gone through some friendship changes and you want to let them know it's okay. So a lot of them are tailored to help with any type of losses, like divorce, anything. But they can be for many losses.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, I think that again, they're like just specific enough, but like to be where you can like match it really to their personality,
Mhm.
but not so like death in your face kind of.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I
Yeah.
love kind of like the first one that you showed. I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember exactly what it said, but there's
Yeah.
some I think there was like something about like yeah, there's the yeah, the wine, right? Okay.
The
So
wine.
that was like for me, I always think of my girlfriends like so
Uh-huh.
who's bringing the alcohol? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly. Right? Yes. But I
Something
mean, if you could just, I mean, bring that, and just show up for your friend that way. I mean, that speaks volumes. And, you guys could just sit there and drink the wine and cuddle and you don't even have to talk.
yeah,
you
just
know?
watch a movie and like, yeah,
Yes,
sometimes grievers, like sometimes we don't want to talk. We're done.
exactly.
Just gonna sit with our
Yes.
feelings and not ignore them, but maybe just like zone out for just like a little bit
Yeah, right.
and just
Exactly. Yes.
go through all the motions. So
Yes.
okay, amazing. So again, and I'll say this once again at the end, everything, all the links and where everyone can find you will be linked in the show notes. But I
Yes.
want to definitely, in this podcast and whenever I bring someone on,
Mhm.
being a fellow griever, I always want to make sure I can give people, leave them with some ways to feel a little bit more supported or things they could, walk away with as far as like if they're really going through a difficult time, like how did you get through it and what advice or wisdom you can impart. And you've already imparted so much. So this
Yeah.
is really just if you have anything else to add. But
Yeah.
one thing I definitely want to ask is like, what is something about your losses, and this could be any of them or one specific or however you want to approach this, that you found to be the most difficult or perhaps something that you didn't feel like you were warned enough about? Because I know that is like another big thing for a lot of us, or that, something happens and you're like, or maybe even like months after the
Yeah.
loss and you're just like, whoa, nobody talks about this enough or nobody
Yeah.
warned me.
I guess, the biggest thing, was just the sudden death of my son Garrett. I think I was blinded. And I feel this is how we are changing the narrative of grief when I talk about this, because when Garrett died, there was not Facebook, there was not all the social media, there wasn't a presence like that to be seen and heard, right? So we were living in this small little bubble that, we had to navigate on that on our own. But, you know, um, just navigating burying a child at such a young age, was something that I will never ever get over or understand, or just, and then just trying to move forward in our life, and try to find the joy again. And then, the thing that was really surprising to me is the anger I felt when my brother and my husband died. Um, I was so angry, and I am not an angry person. I just kind of let things go. I don't harbor all those negative feelings because I just know. And I just that was so surprising to me. And so I guess the biggest thing that I could tell somebody is, just really try to lean into the people, your friends, that maybe can help you, or, journaling, obviously. We had a Caring Bridge site for Jack, just for people to know what was going on with him. But writing those things down to have that, because I could go through there and read what Jack had written. And it really helped me kind of, I think, get out of some of that anger. And Jack was such a positive human being that, he was the light for us. And so I had to figure out how to live the light for him, after he was gone. And so that was probably the thing that I was really, and then also just trying to decipher and, I guess, separate my losses, because there was a time period there where I didn't know who I was even grieving. And it took me a while to figure out, am I grieving Garrett? Am I grieving Jack? Or am I grieving Seth? And I didn't know. And it was just bundled up. And I think I would just run from all my feelings. And so I was surprised by that emotion of just not being able to decipher what I was feeling or who I was grieving. I knew I was grieving, but I didn't know who or how or what, so it was a very chaotic time period for my mind. But yeah, I just learned how to find the joy, and I guess by giving myself grace and living how my people would want us to live, you know?
Yeah, I think that's such a great point, and I know that's so hard for some grievers to hear sometimes, or it's like, especially if it's early on, like, I know that's
Yeah.
more digestible
Yes.
later on, but I feel like people can't hear it enough, and I I'm laughing because when anybody, especially in the first, like, I don't know, however many months, would be like, "Your mom or your dad would or wouldn't want this or whatever," I was like, "Shut up.
Yes,
You don't know
exactly.
me. You don't know my mom. You don't know my dad." Like, I was
Oh, yes.
so
That's the
territorial.
worst. Yes. You know that, and it's funny, not funny, I guess, but it's funny you say that
I could
because
laugh
it's true. I mean, I got many opinions about things, how I should do stuff and how I shouldn't do stuff. And,
now.
and even like re-entering dating, chance now. I mean, I got a lot of people that were like, "Oh, is this too soon? Or, are you sure?" And I'm like, what people don't understand is, Jack and I did have a lot of talk. We had deep talks about how he wanted me to move forward in the future, and so, he had given me the permission to date again. I was 36 years old, and I mean,
Like, we can
but people, yeah, they're like, "Are you sure?" And, "Oh, don't sell your house, don't do this, don't do that." And I'm just like, I am just trying to survive. And yeah,
right.
I don't I it's hard to hear that unwanted, you know.
Unsolicited advice, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I literally have a blog post not completely on that topic, but, like, it is a big bulk of that post because
Yes,
it is I think it's, like, the biggest cautionary tale. I'm sure a lot of listeners here are the grievers, so
yes.
I'm sure it's more like people can relate to this. I'm sure I don't
Mhm.
have to, like, tell people not to do this, but,
Yeah,
I mean, or only give it if people ask for it or something, you know what I mean? Like, there's so much. Everyone has their ways of grieving and doing things, and, oh my god, I got so much of that too, and it's
yes,
just, like,
yeah.
just stay in your lane for the love of God.
Yes, and yes, that's I like that analogy. Stay in your lane for sure. I was just trying to figure out where my lane was at.
We're not even on the highway or
I
on,
know,
like,
right?
the road.
I know. I didn't even know where I was at.
I know, we're not even I don't know, we're not even in this country. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so funny. Again, we can laugh now.
Yeah.
That's a very real feeling, like, we can't even go outside and, like, walk the dog or get the mail half the time, so,
Yes.
anybody with this stuff, coming at us is just yeah, it can be too much. So I think it's
Well,
also
and that's what I would say too is, I'm 17 years out from my son dying, and I'm 14 years out from my husband and, my brother dying. So I just launched this last year. So I've had I mean, I didn't just jump into this. I mean, it's been 17 years in the making. So for people that are listening that are newer into this grief, I mean, definitely give yourself the time and the patience and just give yourself grace if you feel like you're not as far as somebody else. If you hear something, you're like, "Oh, how did she do that?" Well, I
right.
didn't magically do that. I mean, it's taken me time. I mean, years and years and years, and I still have crappy days. There are days when I have my sad moments, but I allow myself to have those.
Of course.
So
Yeah, we have to. And yeah, I mean, it's all about integrating the grief into our life. I probably say this at least once every episode, but I'm going to say it again.
yes.
It's, and you know this, and I'm sure you can attest to this. It's incorporating the grief into your life and figuring out how to do that, but doing it in a way where you can still find joy and honor them in the most beautiful way possible. So again, I always come back to this, like, your loved one would want you to, keep living and enjoy your life. And, like, you can tune me out if nobody wants to hear this, but I'm just going to say it anyway. Like, it's so true. And I think
Mhm.
our loved ones, I have no doubt, would be so proud of what we've done with that, and, like, what better way? And it's not like you have to, like, get into the grief empire, or you don't
No.
have to join the grief space
No.
to, like, as we kind of have to honor them or to do that, but it could just be, taking a quality of theirs, their maybe whatever it is, like their kindness or their compassion, or which
Mhm.
again, like the way you've described your husband today was just, I mean, both. I should
Yeah.
they've both done, like, absolutely phenomenal men, both of them,
Yes.
and just, So just embodying them a little bit, being our own people, being
Mhm.
our own individual selves, but thinking like, okay, what have I learned from them that I could take with me, or what have I learned from this experience that I could then take with me? And
Yes.
that's,
Yes.
that's what.
I agree. Yeah.
Oh,
Well said. Yes.
yeah. So to start wrapping this up,
Yeah.
I love to just kind of finish with this question, and you've sort of answered this a little bit, but what does finding gains from your losses mean to you?
Well, I just feel like it's the the feeling of helping, I guess. So, yeah, I just feel like with my cards, and then like I talked about the pop-up events, and just really the people that reach out to me, that have reached out to me throughout the years, even prior to starting this, that I'm in the space, in my mind space, healthy enough that I can help. And I think I've gained a lot, obviously, throughout the years. And I wouldn't be where I am today without those losses. And so, on one hand, I guess we can say that, some of those losses, I, n- I never wanted them to happen, but I don't think I'd ever go back either today, just because I feel like I've gained so much more. And I think that's just the way it's supposed to be.
Oh my gosh. That's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. I was about to leave it there, but I also meant to ask earlier. Definitely want to know, where did the name butterflies and halos
Oh,
come from? I feel like that's where we need to end this,
yeah.
because I'm just like,
So,
I feel like I know, but
yeah, but butterflies is my symbol from my son Garrett, and so that's my symbol from him that I get the little signs, and then we released live butterflies on his 1 year anniversary of his death, and so it's just kind of been that. So butterflies are my symbolism, and the halos are for all my people.
yeah.
And yeah, so I know that they are just shining down on me, and so that's kind of where it came from.
Absolutely are. I love
Yeah.
it so much. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, your cards are like the cutest things ever. And I just can't say enough good things about them. So, where can everyone buy them? Where can they find you on social? All the good things.
Yeah. Well, I'm currently only selling on Etsy. So if you go to Etsy and you search shop, it's butterflies and halos. And I'm working on my website to sell on my website, because I am also creating more additional product, notepads, notebooks, journals, things like that. And then, so you can go to www.butterfliesandhalos.com. And I do have a blog on there as well, that I write, update usually every Friday. And then socials are at Butterflies and Halos. And I'm on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, but I don't know how to use TikTok. So,
I'm just warming up to TikTok too. I have it for the podcast, and I'm kind of starting to do it on like more of my personal one, but I don't know. I'm just
yeah.
like early
Yeah.
millennial here, still trying to figure it out. I'm on my way to
I
the
just like,
process.
I'm just trying to get this website up and running properly. And I'm like, I can't take on anymore.
You're like
Not
first things
threads, not
first.
anything.
I love it. That's so really
Yes.
cool. Yes. Well, thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate your time and
Yes.
sharing your very treacherous but very inspiring journey with all of us. And I'm just very grateful that our paths have crossed.
Well, thank you so much. And I appreciate you having me on here. I truly do.
Yeah.